Welcome everyone. In this session, I'm going to talk about the two free softwares that I've been using for DVR. I have a bunch of security cameras that I wanted to kind of, put them online, keep them away from cloud storage and whatnot. I wanted to use something in-house on one of my machines that I have running hypervisor for my virtualization needs. I had tried ZoneMinder a few years back, about 2, 3 years ago, and I thought that things would have changed, but I'm sad to kind of say that they're still the same. Installation, yes, definitely has become better, but detection methods, how these things kind of keep crapping out on me, like they're a bunch of they're a bunch of errors. You can't set the camera without actually having to specify the resolution. If you don't specify the resolution properly, it just won't work. There are lots of things with ZoneMinder that I find is very raw, sort of speaking. With Agent DVR, it's a rather seamless process to get your camera up and running rather quickly too. Just want to show you guys one of the basic differences in terms of two or three things I'll talk about. Maybe it might end up with four things or more. The differences between Agent DVR and ZoneMinder. So you guys pick and choose. For me, the winner is definitely going to be the one that is the easiest to use and has most features. You guys can probably guess if I've been using that software for 2 years, which one will be my pick. These guys, Agent DVR, they're going somewhat on the paid route. I don't know if they will disable more functionalities with the personal use edition. So we'll see what happens in the next few years, right? But quickly want to talk about the way that you set up the camera. So let's start with the setting up the IP camera. So I have a IP camera, so it's got on WIP and whatnot, but I use the RTMP feeds and some instances RTSP feeds. RTMP seems to be much better for me for it doesn't have smearing. So Reolink, I'm using Reolink cameras. They do tend to have the smearing option, like not feature, smearing effects, I guess, with RTSP feeds. So I end up using RTMP. So this is the basic screen, right? So to set up Agent DVR camera, all you need, I have posted, I think, a clip earlier about how to add a camera. But once it's set up, this is what you'll see. And the source site type, right? I have configured it. So I'm using sub-channel for the live URL. So this is what you're seeing on the live URL. It's a much lower feed. It's about 640 by 480, I think. And for recording, when the detector thinks, oh, there is something happening, let's start the recording, it switches to the main feed, so which is a high resolution, full resolution feed from a camera. But if I were to do the same thing, so easy, right? You set up live and you record, and if you go back, if you choose the detector, what I mean by that, not detector, sorry, recording, it says, hey, motion detect, raw recording, right? So what do you want to record? I want to do record the record stream. So that's the high resolution stream. The live stream is the live stream is the one, the first one that I showed you guys, right? It's the lower resolution. So it's easy, right? Like, you can just select and choose what do you want to use, right? For recording the feeds. But if I go back to ZoneMinder, it took me a while to figure this out. So you have to specify first a camera, the same camera. So this is the same FC1 camera. You have just the function to motion detect. So motion detect, I think there are others that you can use as well. I think the one is the continuous one is the monochord or a mochord and record. I think these three, if you pick these, you can read this here as well that if analysis is enabled, then you can do a bunch of other things. I have to set this up. So this is the substream, right? So this is the channel 0_sub. So this is the substream right there. But I have to now, so, and then for storage, it will do the storage and all that stuff. I'm not saving any JPEGs. I'm doing a camera pass-through. I'm not doing any audio recording, but it does record the events for this substream as well. But with Agent DVR, you choose between the two, right? So I'm not saying, hey, do both. So here you're stuck with recording both. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but I'm using motion detect. You can use continuous if you have a bigger drive to kind of store your video feeds on. Once that is set up, so I have set this up, right? So this, I call it substream. So this is the lower or the like 640 by 480 resolution stream. Yeah, again, if you try to edit, you do go back, you get into this, I don't know, camera not found stage, which is very weird with ZoneMinder. It was the case like 2-3 years ago, and it's still the same. Like, I have no idea why ZoneMinder does that. So this is FC1, the main. So this is the recording stream. So if I click on the source, you can see that this is the main recording. But the way you set it up, so you have to make sure the resolution down here is the exact resolution. Otherwise, your camera will not work. So mine does 920, but if I was to pick 1440, yeah, you get a bunch of errors. Again, storage, I want to use, I'm saving only the frames, no analysis, camera pass through. I'm not doing encoding, everything else is disabled. If I go back to the general, you'll see here down here, this is how you set up two streams. Or like Agent DVR, you can specify at one location both the links and you're done, right? And you can tell the recording agent to record whichever you want to record. But here you have to have two cameras set up for the same camera, like for two streams, different configuration you have to do. For the second one, the one that you want to record, so I have to use FC1 substream. So anything that happens, or any motion detection that happens on substream 1, it triggers and says, okay, let's start doing the recording. Here is no detect. That's no detect, so it doesn't do any recording and do any motion detection, nothing. So it's purely for recording purposes. But I think reading in the articles, no detect was supposed to not show the camera feed, but it still does that. I am not sure why, but there are a bunch of events that I noticed that they're there. The zone again. So this is the next thing that I want to talk about. So this is the basic initial setup. Like for the 3 cameras I have 6 entries. Like that's like double the work to add those camera feeds and whatnot. Second of all, I will probably talk about this later. I will probably show you guys the camera or my cell phone recording of this screen, and then also the events screen, because it is goofy as hell. You can hardly play the events. It's like you can't even see the play button. The GUI itself needs work. To be honest, I thought 2 years, 3 years. Yes, it's open source. Even Agent DVR, it's not open source, but it's free, and they're actually putting efforts in building towards a better product, right? It's come long ways, Agent DVR, to be honest. But ZoneMinder, yes, the same problems that I had 3 years ago, except the installation, it goes much quicker. Uh, for the second part that I want to talk about is the detections. For ZoneMinder, this is it, right? So I can define a new zone. I can say, hey, what do you want to do? I want to do pixels that change, blobs that change, choose preset, whatever preset you want to choose. You can choose, yeah, you can definitely say, okay, which area you want, right? Like, hey, this is the area that I want motion detection or whatever, right? So you can pick and choose, then call it whatever zone, right? Like for example, zone mid, and that's it, right? So you can say you must specify the pixel. Okay, you must specify block count. I guess I have to choose a preset. Let's me choose a fast high sensitivity, and then it will just do it for you guys, right? So now I got multiple zones on the same camera, but there is no other option. Like for example, hey, I wanted to use, for example, it's probably better that I show you guys. So this is it. This is the detection on methods available on ZoneMinder. So pixelation, any change in pixels. So cloudy day when the sun is shining and also the clouds cover it, the change in the brightness or outside ambience, it will trigger it. With ZoneMinder, it will do it. But with Agent DVR, okay, this is, you just saw the car pass by, right? So it said, okay, it's tracking the object. So, wow, that was perfect timing. and it's doing the recording. So this is what it does during the recording stage, right? And at the top right, you see the audio. I got the audio detection as well. So yes, Agent DVR has audio detector triggers. ZoneMinder doesn't. I'm just surprised that a product like Agent DVR, which is also free, is able to provide so many features. Detectors. Let me show you guys how many options are available on detectors, right? So you can track objects. So on with people, it has face and cat face. I haven't really tried them. It's got Reolink AI. I think they added this is new. It wasn't there in the earlier versions. Simple, basically same thing. And ZoneMinder. So this is ZoneMinder basically. Simple, right? Speed. Yes, I have tried speed, and it did work properly too. Well, you have to be really careful when you're configuring it. So you can say miles per hour, kilometers per second, centimeter, yes, centimeter per seconds too. So you can say what are the speed limits and whatnot, right? So it's pretty fancy, to be honest, right? Like I was like impressed by the options, but for me that works best is the tripwires that I used. I'm testing with the for my actual setup. I will be using tracking to see if I haven't had any sunny day and cloudy breaks, so I haven't been able to test it that much. Tripwires. I think you only got that many. I think there are about maybe 10, maybe 8 tripwires that you get on the free version, but I think earlier versions had even more. So I don't know. Maybe it's the free version. So you saw that, right? The red that showed up, there was a pixelation effect, but it didn't trigger it because it didn't pass through this, or this, right? Basically, it's a tripwire. It's like you booby tap something with tripwires, right? So you can move them. You can say this is so when somebody goes across this line is when I want to trigger it. If I don't want to track the cars going on the street, I can do this, right? Say, okay, no, I just want anybody who is actually coming to the driveway. That's when I want to trigger. So anything happening up here now will not trigger it, right? So if somebody is crossing the grass area, like it picks up even raccoons, squirrels, birds, like anything that crosses this, depending on how you set the limits, right? How wide it needs to be, the height, and the time travel and whatnot. So pretty nifty. It does help with the situation where the simple detection like on ZoneMinder and on Agent DVR doesn't work. Where it's a sunny break, right? It's windy or something like, with the leaves are moving, right? You can also set, if you have, I don't have a tree in the picture here with leaves, but you can also possibly do that for that as well for tripwires, right? You can define the areas. It's super awesome. I really love this feature. But ZoneMinder, plain, just plain, right? Zones, that's it. I will probably upload some of the events that were triggered both on Agent DVR and ZoneMinder, and I'll show you guys the difference. Quality wise, they're both the same, but I find that I think Agent DVR is much better in terms of when it triggers it and how long the video clips is. You can define that as well. For example, how long should the recording be, right? You can say 15 seconds prior, the buffer, how much you want to save in the buffer, like what's the maximum recording time and all that stuff, the maximum rate. With ZoneMinder, that does not exist, right? It's like, okay, I want to do storage and this is it, right? Maybe there are other options and they're miscellaneous, but yeah, there are definitely, but I haven't really played around with them. So possibly I will not be using ZoneMinder or doing any more tests. I was planning to do a ZoneMinder install on Ubuntu as the next video. I might skip that, but it's not easy using ZoneMinder. Plus the GUI interface, especially on a mobile phone. I think there's ZoneMinder application somebody built. It's a paid application. I don't have that. If I'm using a DVR, I a free DVR for my home use only. I'd rather have it free versus having cost associated, because I already have a cost associated with running a VM, right? So there you go. That's a good example right there. It did not get triggered because was the chip wires were not in the way. So if I was to move the chip wires, and then if we happen to have somebody driving by, oh, sorry, detector, it will trigger it. So if I were to do this, then somebody comes here, here, and here, right? So it should trigger the event. And click OK. OK. Oh, okay. What a coincidence, right? So yeah, there you go. I guess, no, you saw the freezing, but it did trigger it. So if I was to look at the recording real quick, once it's done doing the recording, you guys can see when it got triggered and how long was the clip, right? So, okay, there you go. It's done. So I go into recordings. I go into my camera. So we got it triggered at 5:02. Here's the audio as well. Okay, that was definitely not it. Was it 5:02? Is there another one? 5:02 or 3? Let's refresh this. Because I know it did record. You saw the recording, right? So 5:02. Maybe there's a bug that I need to worry about. That's the front cam. Oh, 456. Was it this? No, this was the other one. So detected. Oh, there. I just saw the car go by. So it did record it, but I guess it didn't pick up the initial 15 seconds. I might have to play around with that setting. Or maybe it got triggered, I believe. Let me see. Live video. It didn't trigger here, it didn't trigger here. I think it got triggered at the end. So the recording missed it. So you can play around with the tripwires, but that's the concept of tripwires, you saw, right? That it will trigger it. Also, one thing that ZoneMinder doesn't have, or and Agent DVR does, is something called, oh wait, there's another car coming, so there you go. That did trigger it. So we can look at the recording now. I think it was going pretty slow, so I should be able to see the feed. Let it finish. Then we're gonna look at the recording. Let's look at the recording. And it was at 5:04. Let me refresh. Oh, you saw at the bottom here, like, this is my other feed. So they're birds there or something, I think, right? So it's using object tracking or just tracking. So okay, there you go, kitchen. Then it says kitchen camera or whatever, kit camera. It's recorded it. So let me look at the 5:03. I did record it, right? So yeah, you're seeing it move slowly. That's probably my drive is kind of taxed right now, but I'm gonna just download the clip and play it locally. So I'm gonna just play that. There is no buffer, no buffering. You can see at the top right. I paused it, and the seconds. Look at the seconds at the top right. There is no issue. So, and I'm going to show you guys. Let me show you guys my media information. The codec, the resolution is what the camera feed is, right? So it's pretty nice, to be honest, right? So again, I'll play that again. Okay. I'm going to show you guys. So this is not how it looks like when you actually play it. The car is moving slow, but let me download the file. I'm going to pause it. Yeah, the icon, they need to work on it. So I'm going to save the file. So you can see at the top left it's saying it's downloading 70%, 80%, 90%, and it downloaded. If you open the file, so I'm using a VLC media player, I'm going to pause it real quick. I want to show you guys the stats, media information. I can see this is actually the camera output, the mainstream. This is not the substream, the lower resolution. This is the high resolution, and it doesn't have any buffering problem, nothing. Look at the seconds on the top right. The car is moving slow, definitely, right? But there is no jitter, there is nothing, no lag. It's 30 FPS. It's smooth, but here on the browser, you might notice that, you know what, it was jittering, right? If I play this again, if I play this, you notice the seconds at the top right, like, you know, it's paused. It's because probably my the drive that I have set up is been taxed. That's why it's not able to process it. I do have ZoneMinder and Agent DVR running on the same one, right? So that could be the reason. Let's look at the recording again. 503. Let's look at the seconds. It's like you'll see sometimes there. I think I noticed a little lag there. But yeah, it's like recordings are perfect when you look at them through a VLC browser, or when you look at them when your Agent DVR is actually not being taxed. The drive is not being taxed, right? I to pick between the two, I would pick and choose definitely Agent DVR. Let me see if we got an event for that as well. So we look at the FC1 mainstream recording 84 events. The one was just for about, let's look at the start time. So okay, it's not really, I don't know, it's not working or something, what's going on, but the last event it says from the morning, so no idea what's going on. So I don't know, it's been a struggle with ZoneMinder, to be honest, for me, at least setting up the zones and whatnot. Please post a comment below if you have run into similar issues and whatnot. The other problem that I noticed yesterday, so I want to talk briefly about it, is the fact that this happened last night. So my ZoneMinder, I'm running a VM, right? So I got these two VMs running. Their CPU usage, I was able to get them down to both relatively the same, right? So, but ZoneMinder is definitely more resource intensive, right? Versus Agent DVR, because you have to do almost 6 camera feeds versus 3 for Agent DVR. It's only 3, right? So by 6, I mean this substream, and I have to set up a recording stream if I want to use the main stream as the recording to the full resolution stream. So this is what happened last night. I hadn't specified under my hypervisor so you can set the maximum RAM, right? I hadn't specified a set limit, so it was set to, I think that's what, 98, so 9.8 gigabytes or something like that. Or is it 90 gigabytes, or is it, yeah, I think it turns to be 98 gigabytes. But anyways, so whatever was set to, it was just taxing the whole system. So as you can see, 64 gigs. It used up almost 50 gigs of RAM. Same thing was set up for my Agent DVR, but look at the difference. Same 3 cameras, both of them same uptime, but the assigned memory usage for Agent DVR was way lower. I have now specified for both of them to use maximum of 18 gigs. This was, I think, set to even higher. This is probably not, I don't know if it's the same one. Yeah, it is the same one, but even though if it's set to this, yeah, I don't even have that much RAM, right? So it didn't care. It just did something, probably a memory runaway situation, a memory leak. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. This kind of made me worry about, hey, what else is ZoneMinder going to do? So I don't know, if it's an open source software, I know there's lots of effort that goes into it. Definitely not trashing them or anything. My preference is Agent DVR over ZoneMinder any day. Till I guess they go, well, there's a pricing model, right? Till they go, okay, you won't have a free version at all. You need to pay us $8 a month, right? For example, what do they provide even with basic, right? Do you need all these? Do you need estimate? Do you need, I don't know, maybe you guys do, but for me, I have this set up. If I want to do any triggers, I can write a script. I can say, okay, it does have SMTP alerts as well. I don't know if they work. I will be playing around more with the new version. The next video that I'll do and probably upload today itself is the update process. It had been painful back in the days where you had to basically download the file, do a bunch of things, and then pray that your recordings don't get wiped, right? So I'm going to try that, see what the recordings will look like. So I have this many recordings, test recordings already up there, and I want to see what the update does to it. So stay tuned, guys. I'll be posting that clip as well, how to do an update on Agent DVR. But hands down, definitely Agent DVR. If you guys want to see more detection methods on Agent DVR, or if you have questions about Agent DVR, please do let me know. I will probably post some separate videos where Agent DVR does sound detection. For example, I live in an area where there's lots of planes overhead, right? So I can trigger at night. I can say, okay, hey, how many planes were passing overnight? If, for heck of it, right? You want to do something else for if somebody's shouting in your neighborhood, you want to kind of pick that up and then trigger that, hey, there was something happening in the neighborhood, but it wasn't in the front of the camera. You can definitely do that as well. Uh, for ZoneMinder, I think they have a. I don't know if they have a paid version. I think there is a paid version too. There's donate. No, I don't think they do offer a paid version. I think you can only do a donation. So, but anyways, if you have been using ZoneMinder, and this is the mobile app I was talking about, please do let me know in the comments below how it's been working for you guys. And then if you guys want to switch to Agent DVR, please feel free to reach out to me, post a comment here, and then I'll try to help you guys move away from ZoneMinder to Agent DVR. Till, I guess, again, hopefully the free version stays, right? So, and again, mine's personal use. If you're using a business, definitely you'll be probably using ZoneMinder if you don't want to pay anything, right? So both of them do offer local storage, local recording, versus having to pay a cloud subscription or having to have that. This is all I wanted to talk about in this session. I'll be doing more sessions and then more recordings, and probably not investing so much time anymore on ZoneMinder. I might share with you guys what the events look like on a mobile phone, how ZoneMinder actually looks like on a mobile phone. I will do a recording and upload that separately as well. So stay tuned for all that goody stuff. Thanks a lot, guys. Please do subscribe. Please do comment. Much appreciated. Take care. Stay safe.